Good morning, televiewers, and thank you so much for joining us on this other edition of The Brief, live on My Media Prime Television, a program where we get to dig several layers beneath the major headlines as relayed by newspapers in the country. On today's edition of the program, we are focusing on the recent decision taken by the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Pauline Nalova-Lyonga, to grant students or pregnant students to stay in school while they continue with their studies. We shall tell you more on the recent decision as many newspapers are talking about today, and many other issues, especially the Anglophone crisis as captured by newspaper this morning. We shall talk on that, especially what is happening in the northwest region of the country as we are having new developments that the kidnapped senator. There has been an appeal written by the Archbishop of the Metropolitan Archdiocese of Bamenda, His Grace Andre Kia, asking those who are keeping the senator to release, or begging them to release the CPDM senator. We shall dwell on that as well. Hamadou, who is a human rights defender, is here with us in the studio. We shall be talking with him as we take what the French newspapers have for us this morning with Bomotonguina. Gwladys. Bonjour, Gwladys.
Bonjour, la chacune. Alors, ce matin, nous allons débuter avec la nouvelle expression. Alors, nous débutons avec la nouvelle expression qui nous parle aujourd'hui de la menace de pénurie des produits pétroliers au Cameroun. En effet, les entreprises qui qui avaient pour but de ramener du pétrole au Cameroun ne parviennent plus à le faire dû à la crise en Ukraine. Les détails sont donc en page 2 de ce journal, la nouvelle expression ce matin. Vie chère au Cameroun, le spectre des émeutes de la faim. Les détails sont en page 4 du journal La Nouvelle Expression ce matin. Le journal nous parle aussi à sa page 1 de Bafoussam, un élève qui a été mortellement poignardé à Bafoussam. Nous poursuivons, mesdames, messieurs, ce matin avec l'info à chaud. L'info à chaud qui nous parle en grand titre de la décision du ministre de l'enseignement secondaire. En effet, les élèves en grossesse sont à nouveau admis dans les lycées. C'est du moins ce qu'a déclaré le MINSEC hier matin. Alors, nous continuons, mesdames, messieurs, avec le journal Émergence. Le journal Émergence nous parle d'insécurité routière. Plus de 7000 cas d'accidents enregistrés en 2020. Une famille de 7 personnes trouve donc la mort sur la nationale numéro 10. Les détails sont en page 3 du journal Émergence ce matin. Éducation, l'exclusion des élèves filles enceintes désormais bannie dans nos établissements scolaires. Les détails sont en page 9 de ce journal Émergence ce matin. Mesdames, Messieurs, nous poursuivons ce matin avec le journal L'Information. Le journal L'Information qui nous révèle ce matin en grand titre que le MINAT a trop supporté. En fait, le MINAT a trop supporté la grève des enseignants après les efforts du gouvernement en vue d'apporter des réponses aux revendications des enseignants. Les grèves persistent, mettent ici en péril les examens officiels qui s'ouvrent dans quelques jours. Le ministre de l'administration territoriale vient donc d'instruire l'identification systématique et l'interpellation des signataires des tracts véhiculés par OTS et OAT. Les détails sont en page 5 de ce journal ce matin. Mesdames, Messieurs, nous continuons avec Quotidien Réalité Plus. Quotidien Réalité Plus qui nous parle aussi du mouvement OTS et OAT. Sont donc des mouvements clando et sans papier. C'est du moins ce qui en ressort des déclarations du ministre de l'administration territoriale, Paul Atangandi. Les détails sont en page 2 et 3 de ce journal Réalité Quotidien. Mesdames, Messieurs, nous poursuivons ce matin avec le journal Le Jour. Le journal Le Jour qui nous parle lui aussi en grand titre de l'enseignement secondaire. Les élèves enceintes ne seront plus exclus de ces établissements. Elles pourront donc demander un congé de maternité à 26 semaines et reprendre les cours après l'accouchement. Les détails sont en page 3 de ce journal Le Jour ce matin. À sa page 7, le journal Le Jour nous parle du drame qui a eu à Bafoussam où un élève a été poignardé à mort. Mesdames, Messieurs, nous continuons ou nous clôturons ce matin avec l'œil du Sahel. L'œil du Sahel qui parle lui aussi en grand titre du mouvement OTS contre le ministre de l'administration territoriale Paul Atangandi. Le journal nous déclare qu'il y a un bras de fer entre l'OTS et Atangandi. Les détails sont en page 2 de ce journal L'œil du Sahel ce matin. Mesdames, Messieurs, c'est tout pour vos titres en langue française. Place à la découverte des titres en langue anglaise avec toi, Lasha Kinsley.
Thank you, Bomotonguina. Gwladys, let's kickstart this morning with the Guardian Post newspaper. The Guardian Post newspaper this morning is interested in what we told you in our introduction this morning. The Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Pauline Nalova-Leonga, gives new orientation on handling pregnant students. That's the major headlines that the newspaper is carrying this morning. In the note, the minister lamented the way pregnant students are treated in schools across the country. According to her, new actions have been streamlined in this regard in line with government's policy of promoting the education of the girl child. As per the minister's note, pregnant students will henceforth be allowed to carry on with their studies until the 26th week of pregnancy. Even at the 26th week of pregnancy, the minister indicated that the students concerned will be given maternity leave if requested for. Noting that in most cases pregnant students are dismissed, and the minister warned that the practice is against the government's policy of keeping all students in school without discriminating or promoting gender equality and preventing the dismissal of the vulnerable students, as we are told by the minister. And the minister equally noted that even if the person that gets the student pregnant is also a student, he will not be dismissed from a school. But if it is a teacher, the teacher will be sanctioned according to ministerial text in place. And we continue this morning to talk about the National Institute of Statistics ranking of the most or the city with the highest cost of living in the country. National Institute of Statistics ranks Douala City with highest inflation rate, as we are told. The said institution, as we are told, ranked inflation in the economic capital of the country, Douala, highest amongst towns in the country. The ranking, according to the paper, is contained in its recently published survey for the first quarter of 2022. According to the institute, what is categorized as imported food inflation is by some decimal points higher in Douala than in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, specifically explained by the National Institute for Statistics that the prices of imported food products increased by 10.1% between March 2021 and March 2022 in Douala, as against 9.2% in Yaoundé. More details on the statistics only in this edition of the Guardian Post newspaper. Let's talk about this movement or this conference that was held in the Southwest region recently. We are taking you to the Sun newspaper. The Sun newspaper says at All Southwest Youth Conference, youths resolved to champion cause for peace. You can read more on what the youths agreed on in Boya. That was during the conference, only in this edition of the said newspaper. And Minister Paul Atangandi warns those funding insurrection behind OTS and the OTA. You can read more on the correspondence that was addressed to the 10 regional governors by Minister Paul Atangandi, only in this edition of the said newspaper. And Newswatch is not indifferent as to what many other newspapers are talking about this morning. And to frustrate a plot to disrupt school year, government bans illegal teachers trade unions. as well as threatened to arrest ring leaders of the said movement. You can read more in this edition of News Watch newspaper. Let's talk about the inauguration of the Garua Regional Hospital by the head of state representative Diongute. That was yesterday. The hospital, which has a capacity of 110 beds, as well as a technical plateau of 3,500 newborn per year, was inaugurated yesterday by the head of state's representative, Chief Dr. Joseph Diongute. You can read more on the hospital that was inaugurated yesterday on pages 4 through 5 of this edition of the National Bilingual Daily Cameroon Tribune. Cameroon Tribune this morning is also interested in the 2022 official examinations in the country. The paper tells us that some 618,987 candidates to write the GCE and back this year. Secondary Education Minister Professor Pauline Alova-Lyonga yesterday, May 10, 2022, chaired an important meeting on the state of preparedness for the 2022 official examinations organized by the ministry. That was in Yaoundé, and during the meeting, as we are told by the said newspaper, it was revealed that some 618,987 candidates will be sitting in for the exam, or are preparing for this year examination organized by the Baccalaureate and the Cameroon General Certificate of Education Examination Boards. More details on pages 16 and 17 of this edition of the National Bilingual Daily Cameroon Tribune. We are back in the studio, televiewers of My Media Prime, to continue with our discussions this morning. And Hamadou Tantoh is with us this morning. He is a human rights defender, and we will be talking more on some of the burning issues that are making headlines in the country this morning. Good morning, Hamadou Tantoh, and welcome.
Good morning once more, Mr. Alasha. Good morning to the telespectators of My Media Prime Television.
Yeah, we are talking about a recent decision of secondary education boss, Professor Pauline Alova-Lyonga, permitting students who are pregnant to continue with lectures up to the 26th week of pregnancy. And if they see the need of taking a maternity leave, they can always request for. What is your reaction to this new development as a human rights defender?
Well, I think, first of all, that this is a very laudable initiative. I applaud Madame Alova-Lyonga for taking this decision. I think this is a time for us to understand, for people to understand that Cameroon is a state in the state of law, and the government need to make sure that do everything possible to make sure that Cameroon respect all national, international engagement with regard to issues as such. Because the dismissing student from school because of in pregnancy is a gross violation of the right of the child to education, except when the child wishes to abstain from school because of the pregnancy. And dismissing school from a child from the school will have a lot of negative impacts, because when a child goes out of frustration, a lot of things might happen, including forced on a safe abortion and all the like. So it's at least really an encouraging communique from the Minister of Secondary Education. Are
you not worried, like many other Cameroonians, that this is encouraging promiscuity in school, and trying to encourage students to have unwanted pregnancy, or indulging in sexual activities, meanwhile they were supposed to be concentrating on their book works?
I think to an extent it might have an effect with regard to what you are saying, but actually what I know is that the law is a law as it is, not as it ought to be, but the way it is the way it's supposed to be. So we don't have to take things because people are thinking the other way or whatsoever, because I know that
before then it used to happen. Why is it only now that we haven't? Has the law just been voted or enacted?
No, I don't think that is the situation. But the issue is that
if the law has been existing, why now? That's the question. Why now?
No, there are a lot of things that we notice that have been happening in Cameroon here. A lot of human rights violations that we notice that have happened in Cameroon here. And the major problem there is that because most of the leaders, or our leaders who are at the forefront at this level and this decision-making position, are not even aware of such rights. So they need to make them understand that there are some certain things that need to go this way, or certain things that need to do. Sometimes it's out of ignorance that some of these leaders are taking unreasonable decisions that are absurd, unfounded, and illegal.
On a beaucoup de jeunes filles et jeunes garçons qui ont arrêté leur éducation et au jour d'aujourd'hui même arrêté leur carrière justement à cause de ce problème. Comment est-ce qu'on arrive à peut-être consoler ces jeunes élèves-là qui ont arrêté leur carrière ou bien leur éducation parce qu'ils étaient peut-être enceintes ou bien parce que le jeune homme avait enceinté une jeune fille?
I think this one is a new hope for them, because as I rightly said here, that some of the dismissing students will have a lot of negative impact. Some of the male child, both the male and the female child, talk about on safe abortion and all the light, and with regard to the male child,
but the minister notes in his or her communique that the decision is coming to encourage equality, gender equality, education for the girl child. Does it mean that pregnancy has always been a big problem for the girl child when it comes to education?
No, you know that sometimes pregnancy comes with a lot of effects. Because sometimes there are some women that when they are pregnant, they have a lot of sickness, some certain things that are disturbing them. But it should be that the child decided, the girl child or whoever decided to abstain from school because of her health situation or her health with regard to the pregnancy, but not that the child is being dismissed from school. At least it should be her own volition, her own decision to abstain from coming to school.
Est-ce que cette mesure est prise aujourd'hui pour limiter le niveau d'avortement peut-être dans nos établissements scolaires?
Not only niveau d'avortement, it's niveau of safe abortement, because there are so many kinds of abortion. There are some safe abortion that can still be done.
Mais l'avortement n'est pas permis au Cameroun, donc il n'y a pas de safe avortement.
No, that's not the question. The abortion is permitted in Cameroon. Cameroon have signed laws to that effect, and the problem is that it's safe abortion. Because if you realize that the child you are carrying, your health is at stake.
C'est juste quand c'est une situation critique.
Oui, that's why I said that exceptional circumstances. We should not say abortion is not legal. There are exceptional circumstances where you have to abort.
It is legal in case life is involved, where the life of the pregnant woman is in danger. That's when we talk about abortion.
That's what I was trying to say, that it's not, when we say that abortion is not accepted, it means that some people will interpret it wrong. They will think that if they are having a child, that the child is a risk to their health and all that, they can still keep the child. But in case you see that is risky for you to keep the baby, and that should, in case you delay with the baby, any other thing you can go. But the problem is that once self abortion, because some type of abortion that you see some of our women today who go about having some terrible type of concoction because they want to abort a child, and they end up even losing their life.
Another worry of this decision, Hamadou Tantoh, is the fact that there is double standard. The minister says if the student is pregnant for another student, nothing will be done to the student. But if the student is pregnant, the female student is pregnant for a teacher, then that teacher will face the music.
Well, actually, because the first thing I said here is that what the minister did is to protect equality and the right of the children to education. Or if you have an adult, somebody like a teacher who go ahead to dating a student, it's very ridiculous, because that's why some teachers are doing. And these children, and when you do such a thing, these children will not first of all longer respect you. Again, sometimes you see a teacher in school is unable to talk when you have some certain student in front of him because he knows what he's doing. So a lot of those are the kind of things that are not to be encouraged, and at least teachers should be.
So we go about encouraging, but the students, the young people that we are supposed to mentor,
it is not by that
to get involved in sexual activities.
No, it's not encouraging. It's just telling them that should, in case it happens, sometimes have an act of accident, and that's why. So we have equally been advocating that the government should do everything possible to make sure that sexual education is taught in our school at the level of secondary school and all the like. Because those are some of the way of protecting these students. Because some of them get involved into sexual intercourse without even knowing how their menstrual flows runs and all the things are such. At least the government needs to do everything possible for us to have some courses in the secondary school secondary and high level of education where sexual education, all these kind of things will be used to teach our children, our children and sisters, for them to have a.
Hamadou Tantoh, Minister Paula Tanganji at it again. The Newswatch newspaper Information this morning, they are relaying the recent decision of Minister Paula Tanganji. Notifying his regional collaborators to crack down on ringleaders of OTS movement. Information this morning is telling us that Minat Atru supporte. Did Paul Tanganji has he really supported this teacher? Has he been persevering with these teachers?
Well, the first thing I would say is that teachers are exercising their rights, and right is something that the government needs to make sure that it protects them. As the government has responsibilities to make sure that the rights of these teachers are respected. But Minat the Minister of the Territorial Administration we have now, each and every one of us knows him as the Minister of Public Disorder. Because of disorder he has been causing. And we know what say what you
you cannot say what you are saying. When you say public disorder, what do you mean?
Well, we have a lot of chaos that the Minister of Communication, this Minister of
he has taken a decision.
The Northwest and Southwest. At least we are leaders. Our government is supposed to learn from their previous mistakes. If these things have happened like the Minat boss, that's the same. We want to take the same route that they did at the beginning of the Anglophone crisis and let us to where we are today. And we are seeing the effect of the crisis, and we are not, first of all, able to come out of the crisis because of this type of thing. When something is starting like this, they need to take good measures of solving. I think paying these teachers their dues is very, very important than going ahead to arrest the leaders of this gang of this group.
He says that these teachers, some of them are being manipulated. He has information that some of them are being manipulated because government has already answered to some of their grievances. Why should they be fronting for another create more when government is progressively looking into their problem? That's the problem of Minister Paul Atanganji, that the teachers are being manipulated. There are some politicians who want to use this movement and bring disorder to the country.
Well, I cannot authoritatively conclude or confirm whether what Mr. Paul Atanganji, the allegation about some manipulation is true or false. But what is clear is that in this our autocratic regime, we have noticed that most often the government try to lay blame. The government forget his responsibility and do everything possible to lay blames on people. The other day, when we were talking about human rights defense, I was talking about the way they are being treated by our government. Government sometimes claims that they are being sponsored by some outsiders to destabilize the nation because our government always acts on blames. And the most important thing is that the government owes these teachers their dues. We are saying that the government should do everything to pay their dues.
You start by giving something small to the person. Why should the person continue,
Why should the person first of all be given small? The people have rights. They have laws that have clearly stated their dues that are supposed to be paid by the state. But the state, they are not paying. They don't have to pay them gradually. These ministers they are enjoying all type of comfort. Their own salaries are never being disturbed. They have a lot of things that they are going through, a lot of benefits, things that they are benefiting. And we know that if this minister continues like this, it will have a lot of effect not only within our educational system and within our country and within our students. At least the government should wake up and try to reason. They should do everything possible. Even some of the ministers should remove some of the money that they have stolen and come out with it so that at least if the government does not have money, they can pay these teachers with.
Don't you think that Minister Paul Atanganji has a reason? We know the position he holds. He's the Minister of Interior of this country. He is equally the Permanent Secretary to the Cameroon National Security Council. And don't you think that he has enough information and sounding this warning to these people to prevent Cameroon from falling into another kind of Northwest and Southwest? Is he not right by doing what he's doing?
Well, I think because of his position, because of his different position that he holds on government, is not any reason for him to go about.
No, he says he has information. He has information that these people are about to be manipulated. If not, why are they still bent on going? On with the movement or with the strike action? Despite government's effort, President Pobia has given instruction, and there was an interministerial meeting that was held at the Star Building where Prime Minister gave further directives on how the head of state's instruction should be implemented. Why should a teacher continue distributing tracts to call on their colleagues to boycott, classroom? Meanwhile, official exams are around corner.
I think if Minister Paul Atanganji was a reasonable leader, and he find out if this information as he's saying and believe that the information is true, the most important thing is to go ahead and pay these teachers first before thinking of these other things. And
even the Minister of Secondary Education, who was soft 3 weeks ago or so, has suddenly become angry again with the teachers. She has also instructed regional governors to act fast when it comes to these teachers who are recalcitrant, the teachers who don't want to go to classroom.
Thomas Jefferson once said that when injustice becomes law, resistance becomes a duty. If these people don't want to pay these teachers their rights, they should stop blaming people. They don't want to pay their rights. These teachers have the right to resist them. I don't see any reason why we should be saying that the ministers are saying it. So something does not become law because a minister says so. At least these ministers to make sure that they respect that these are teachers. Teachers are very important, the most important professional in this country, and they should be respected as such. We should stop taking blame, saying that some politicians are going, some politicians are coming down and pay this. Even if their politicians are using teachers to work with them.
Is the money there? Is it 100 and what billion? Is the money there for the government to pay them? If I'm owing you and I don't have the money, but I promise you, I start giving you something and I promise you Why can't you wait
No.
for me to raise the money and give you?
No, in this case, they will not. They have overweight. That's why they said owner to support it. You understand what that means? Owner to support it. No, they have over supported the government. At least at this point in time, these people are actually, in fact, they have the right, all the right. Even despite the fact that the minister is saying that OTS is illegal, whether they are legal or illegal. If they are acting illegal, it's because the government acted illegally by not respecting their dues or not paying their normal salaries that are supposed to pay.
Mais si le ministre de l'administration territoriale a donc des informations au sujet des personnes qui manipulent ces leaders du mouvement OTS, pourquoi ne pas interpeller ces politiciens-là qui sont en train de manipuler les leaders du mouvement OTS?
That's why I was initially saying here that I care less about whosoever is manipulating these teachers, even if there are people. What matters to me most is the right of this teacher that should be respected. Whether there are people manipulating them or not, they should make sure that they respect the right of these teachers and pay them. For how long are these teachers going to be crying or striking before their salaries are being paid? Sometimes people come out with their genuine grievances, and the government, instead of solving them, go ahead creating their own funny problems and resolving them. Because that's what has been happening. If you look critically to what the Minister of Communication said concerning the instruction from the head of state, you realize that some of the most important grievances that the teachers are claiming, they are not even found on those things. So it's a normal thing here in Cameroon. Even with regard to the Anglophone crisis, when the crisis started, people started claiming for their different rights to be respected, and the government went about creating bilingualism commission, telling us all types of stories. Meanwhile, we don't know that the people of Cameroon is living ensemble, as what they are saying, living ensemble. Because they only want us to live together. They don't want us to eat together. They should give opportunity to these people. Pay them their rights. Have students, they have children that are going to school and other obligations or other duties that they are supposed to do with their money, and the government should pay them this money.
On a souvenir que lorsque ce mouvement des enseignants a débuté, le mouvement OTS, quelques jours après, le ministre de l'administration territoriale a remis des véhicules au préfet, gouverneur. Est-ce que cet argent n'aurait pas pu servir peut-être pour ces enseignants-là?
No, actually, that's a good thing. The money would have been used. But the problem here is that the government is not telling us they don't have money. Had it been the way they don't have money, they ought to have seen.
But sometimes must you give account? Must you tell? I mean, you might be going through something, but you don't want people to know.
The government is supposed to.
Must government come every day and begin to tell the teachers that we don't have money
or not, or there's some things are going all well or not? They're supposed to be accountable to us. They're supposed to tell us Cameroonians that the way things are going. Most of them. I don't know, because what they do here is that the government go about buying expensive cars and giving to these administrators, and the administrators are having very low salary. I don't know how the people are doing in Cameroon. You see somebody moving on a very big car, the government is going to pay all other things, taking care of the petrol, paying houses, and all, but their salaries on all these type of things are very limited. So what government should do to look for ways of resolving the problem. But I think the other minister of Labour and Social Security, the communique I read yesterday, was trying to say that he has summoned some of the teachers, some of the leaders of these teachers to meet him by next Tuesday in his office so that they can continue to dialogue. That the head of state has always opted for dialogue as the best way out of the current strike. So this one coming from Mr. Tanganji, I just think it's just a joke, that he's just joking. But maybe he likes intimidating people so much.
Est-ce que vous voulez dire que le ministre de l'administration territoriale prend des décisions en dehors du président de la République?
No, this kind in Cameroon here, everyone take this on at his or her way. If you're
to somebody,
they cannot still be talking about dialogue. Minister of Law and Social Security cannot still be talking about dialogue while Mr. Tangaji is talking of arresting the leaders.
No, but if there are bad elements within the group, and Minister Tanganji allows the Minister of Labour and Social Security to continue dialoguing with the good elements, and then he goes after the bad element. What is bad in that?
No, in terms of conflict, you have to have a way of talking, have soft ways of convincing people to understand some certain things. If the government think that they are willing to pay these teachers, they look for an amicable way, trying to explain things to them clearly, to tell them that they should.
But the government says 2023. Their monies will be paid.
It's not even certain that their money will pay in 2023, because we know some teachers, some of these teachers have been going on for more than 10 years, even above that, their dues have not been paid and all that. So we're not very clear. There's no clear indication that the government might pay the money by 2023 as they are claiming. So how long are these teachers going to wait? Why are the salaries of these ministers not taken and given allowances?
Not salaries.
No, they have salaries as well as allowances. Allowances just come to add to their salaries. So those are the kind of things that our government should think of these teachers. These very important professionals. We need them.
On a un autre problème dans nos établissements scolaires. On a un jeune élève qui a été poignardé à mort au lycée bilingue de Bafoussam. Un autre élève qui décède en tenue de classe.
It's terrible for quite a long time now. We are noticing this kind of things in our school milieu on daily basis, from one region to the other, from the other region, where it's very terrible. I don't know what has been coming our students in these days, because the kind of violence that I've been witnessing in our secondary, mostly our secondary school today, has been rampant. I think the government should do something for a lot of things.
Qu'est-ce qui peut être l'agent instigateur de ce type de violence dans nos établissements scolaires aujourd'hui?
Spiritual hand, is there a hidden hand behind what is happening?
I think most of our students today has engaged in a lot of terrible things, including drugs consumption. Sometimes they are acting out of drugs. But sometimes when you look at the students, students that are accused of doing such things, you see the way the physical look of the student, realize that maybe the student was obviously under the influence of drugs. So most of them go about.
Where do they even see the drugs? Where do they see the drugs?
There are drugs.
How do they even get into the school campuses with the drugs? There are different school campuses with the drugs.
No, sometimes some of them might take the drugs before coming to the school campus, but that notwithstanding, they can still take it within the campus, because such people will know how to smuggle. So to smuggle and enter with these drugs without being intercepted by the security of the institution.
Mais comment est-ce qu'on arrive au Cameroun à avoir les élèves qui ont facilement accès à ces stupéfiants-là? Parce qu'il faut le dire, dans nos établissements secondaires, au jour d'aujourd'hui, les élèves ont facilement accès aux drogues.
Where do they get it?
No, I think you might not know where they take it, because you are not interested in issues. So if you are interested today, you have access to it. There are people that might be closer to you that you don't know, that know something about all those type of things that lead you to. There are some people who are bent in destroying these students. So there's some people in.
Mais c'est quoi en fait? C'est quoi l'intérêt à vouloir détruire peut-être la jeunesse camerounaise? C'est quoi cet intérêt?
That's why there's a very big problem. I think that's why we have been saying that the government, the parents, and even those of the civil society and the media, we should make sure that we engage on different activities. To sensitize these students, to tell them the importance of education, the negative effect that they have as a result of taking such, consuming such dangerous drugs that are very, very dangerous to their health, and such thing will have a lot of negative impact on their future.
Hamadou Tantoh, let's go to the Northwest region now and meet this sad situation. We are talking about CBDM Senator Regina Mundi, who was adopted by suspected Ambazona fighters recently, and we are having information that the adopters have given tough conditions to the government. If the government does not meet up with the tough conditions by the 20th of this May, something terrible might happen. Reason why the Archbishop of the Metropolitan Archdiocese of Bamenda, His Grace Andre Kia, has issued an appeal letter to the adopters to release the CBDN senator.
First of all, I will say here that at least these separatist leaders we have been praying for the release of the Senator Mundi Regina, at least arresting these people, because the problem is that this separatist.
She's a civilian. Why arrest a civilian?
These separatists group have they say they are fighting for freedom. If actually they are fighting for freedom, at least they need to have respected this woman, because I know the woman has been arrested because of her opinions or her affiliation to the CBDM whatsoever, which is a right. If you have right to secession, same as other people who have their own right to their own opinion as well. So fighting for freedom, arresting people because of their opinion is really regrettable. It's telling the world that we are not, what we are fighting for is genuinely not what we have in mind. At least the woman should be released as fast as possible. And I'm equally saying use this opportunity to once more congratulate our Bishop Andrew Nkea for what he has been doing. Because Bishop Andrew Nkea is somebody who has been working tirelessly to advocate for not only the release of prisoners who have been arrested in connection with the Anglophone crisis, but for the return of peace and normalcy in the Anglophone region.
He even talks with some of the separatists we saw in America sometimes back, blessing some of those instigators of violence, praying for them, that God should forgive them, they should redress their way.
I think it's well, as a man of God, because sometimes people may interpret it wrongly as saying that he has been blessing separatists and all that. As a man of God, he's supposed to be tolerant. When you are somebody who is
maybe trying to talk to them, my son, yes, as you see, this thing you are doing, can we have everything?
That is it. So as a man of God, you need to be tolerant. Whether you are separatist or whatsoever, you need to welcome everybody, whether you are whatsoever, welcome them to him, closer to him, and make sure that you try to dialogue with them. Those are the kind of things where we're saying that people as such need to be some of the frontline people that are supposed to involve in this dialogue for us to have possible ways out of the current.
The question many people are asking, that they made the woman under to read a certain speech under duress, announcing her resignation, as well as accepting to support their struggle. So why want to kill the woman who is already with them now, because from what they brandished on social media, she has resigned from the Senate, and she has also accepted to join the struggle. So why want to kill her again?
Well, I might think that because they might be thinking that the woman, after all, they know very well that the woman did whatsoever he did there because out of duress, because she was being out of in fact on gunpoint, so she had no other choice than to do what she was doing. But I think the release of this woman is very, very important. This is what, if the separatists go about executing this woman, it will give them a very bad image, and this will be another reason why the conflict will hardly be resolved. The international community, both the national and international community that are supposed to come together and look for possible ways out of the crisis, they will not be accepting to come to resolve a crisis or issue as when people are fighting for freedom, going about executing others because of their own opinions. And you said you are fighting for your own right, and why you don't want to respect the right of another person. This is very, 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 very bad.
Hamadou, Tantoh, I've been tempted to ask you this question because you're very versed with international humanitarian law and other international laws. And what are the indicators of a terrorist group? Because sometimes the international community is still relaxed and still dragging its feet to want to probably term these people terrorists as the government puts them. So what are the indicators of a terrorist group?
I think arresting or kidnapping and executing people the ways they say people they have been doing, or they are trying to. So
there's a clear distinction between a freedom fighter group and a terrorist group, because we know that Boko Haram is a terrorist group. That you cannot dispute that.
No, actually, it depends on the modus operandi of these people. If you are a freedom fighter, you make sure that you avoid violence, or you avoid doing some certain thing like gruesome murder. This is what thing the people are doing, or committing some serious atrocities. When you are a freedom fighter, you fight. You fight without using, let me say, without using violence. You use non-violence way of fighting for freedom, but not violence way of doing it. At least, even though some people have been saying that this separatist leader ought to have been arrested and all that, but I don't think that one. People know that that one is not the right thing that should be done, because it is, even if they are terrorists or whatsoever, arresting these separatist fighters, and what I've always said is that it will increase more pains on these people and will prolong this crisis, because the war we are having in our own region is a war of ideology. You cannot kill the ideology, but arresting people will not kill that ideology. Virtually all this Anglophone, most of this Anglophone, whether abroad or Cameroon, already have a certain mentality with regard to this issue, and arresting this leader will keep on radicalizing these things, and would not bring possible ways out of this conflict we have been going through.
So what is your message to the separatist leaders this morning? I don't want you to talk to the government, because you have been talking to the government. What is your message to the separatist leaders, especially those who take civilians and keep them as war criminals?
Well, I would say here that we have the Geneva Convention that is protect war, that comes to regulate to reduce human suffering when during a conflict. And we are praying that both the government, the separatists, let me say the separatists, because as we are really saying, I'll keep talking about the government, separatist leaders or these separatists, to make sure that they respect these laws as well. They should avoid taking civilians for ransom. Those are. Do you really
believe that these people who are executing orders from abroad, they understand some of these conventions, these international laws you are talking about? The people who are in the bushes, do they really understand the implications of some of their actions?
Most of them don't understand, even though they say ignorance of the law is no excuse. Even if they understand or not, it's not any reason for them. There's no defense mechanism or whatsoever to say that you executed with unknowingly. And after all, you're the first person who executed. You are the first one involved, and the other ones are acting like accomplices. At least we want this leader, even if they are these armed men does not have they are this right. At least these leaders should make sure that they guide them on this issue, tell them things that they are supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do. They are engaged in a war with the state of Cameroon or with state actors. They should fight the war with the state of Cameroon, and not by killing mostly. Because I've noticed that even the Anglophone elites, most of Anglophone elites have been executed, been killed.
They do this on pretext of blood legs. If you have to look at the meaning of blood legs when it comes to the Cambridge dictionary and whatever, black legs, like it is put in the dictionary, I agree to do something with you, and then at the end of the day I betray you, or I refuse doing what we agreed to do. I went and I probably go and betray you, and then you tell me a black leg. But this one, many people who have been killed, they didn't accept, they have never accepted to be part of the Ambazonia movement. Why tag those people black legs and you kill them?
That's what I was saying, that separatists are claiming to be fighting for freedom. At least if you are fighting for freedom, you are fighting for your right to respect it. You should respect the right of the other person. You are fighting, you have a problem of opinions. respect these people's opinions as well. So don't start telling me, because, well, that notwithstanding.
When you say black leg,
black
they use this black leg. They are saying that Senator Regina Mundi is a black leg. She's working for the government. Has she ever, in one way, accepted to be part of the Ambazuna movement, and at the end of the day, she joined the CPDM?
No, that has not been the case, but accepting, I don't even think that should be any problem, because I said here that problem of opinion differences. If somebody differs to you, it's not any reason for you to kill the person, because we know that the foundation of democracy is, first of all, disagreement. At least these separatists should make sure that they respect these people. It's true that within the context of international norms, they have not clearly defined maybe the status of those are called mercenaries, saboteurs, or maybe in other sense of black leg as we're telling here. But if they realize that somebody is not clearly collaborating with them or the team, but it's not an obligation to collaborate. It's already an option. If you think you can collaborate, you can collaborate. If you don't think you can collaborate, because the problem here now is that is the risk that you are involved, or you are involved directly. Because sometimes some of these people are being involved in terrible things. So these fighters, at least I said, I keep saying that these people should do everything possible to release Madame Mundi, the senator, and allow her to regain her freedom. At least you will give a good image to them. Executing a woman is in fact risky. It will give more bad image to the separatist fighters or the separatist leaders.
Ok. Hamadou, Tantoh, parlant ici là, justement de ce religieux-là qui a prié pour ces séparatistes à l'étranger. Le journal Cameroun Tribune nous révélait hier à son grand titre que la solution de cette crise peut venir au travers des religieux.
Oh yes, that's what I was trying saying here. I've said here several times that these religious authorities are very respectable people in the community, in our society, and I think these people, if they are involved in the forefront of negotiation between the government and the government and the separatist fighters, it can bring a very positive solution. So with these people, they are always very tolerant. They know how to convince people to come to them, make them understand. Because there are some group of people, especially some of the ministers who have here, if they are sent to go and negotiate with people, the people will never even pay attention to them. Because some of the past things you have done in the past will make people never to accept you. Maybe if you have changed, because if you are known for negative things and tomorrow you claim to have changed, that they want you to sit down with people and negotiate or look for ways of solving the problem, most of the people will still not have confidence in you because of what they are known you to be. At least these religious people are very, very important people and can play a better role. Yeah, that's why you can see what Tantoh was trying to do. He was trying to assemble.
Mais sauf qu'on lui a jamais permis, on lui a jamais donné l'autorisation de peut-être regrouper ces leaders séparatistes pour pouvoir discuter, parler de la paix avec eux.
Yeah, that's why there's a problem, because often be saying that the government should do everything possible. The government and the national and international partners should do everything possible to make sure that they facilitate an inter-African dialogue. That's something related to what Tantoh was trying to do. So they are something that will bring all these religious authorities and other stakeholders together for them to sit down and seek for possible ways out of the crisis. Because if the government is continuously denying also, it means that the government is actually not on good faith.
Yeah, Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Diengute was in Garwa yesterday, where he represented President Paul Biya at the inaugural ceremony of the Garwa Regional Hospital over there in the north region of the country. Hamadou, Tantoh, this is coming after that of Bafoussam and other regions of the country. That was a move taken by President Paul Biya in bringing healthcare closer to the people.
Yeah, it's really very important. This is an important move and very interesting move. At least we need these hospitals. But most of our community people are dying because they don't have hospitals, or they don't have a hospital well qualified doctors that can handle some certain kind of illness. Sometimes when somebody have an illness or some certain problem, they need to leave from where you are resident to go to Yaoundé or to go to other places who are often very far. And sometimes before they get there, some of them have died as a result of their illness. So it's very, very important. I say kudos to the government for that.
Ok.
Hamadou Tantoh, le journal de la Nouvelle Expression nous révèle à son grand titre ce matin que le Cameroun pourrait être sous une menace de pénurie de carburant. Comment est-ce qu'on va gérer cette situation?
This situation is really very not easy, because I've noticed it not only in Cameroon, in other countries, because from countries like Nigeria. The other day I saw news that the Nigerian government is trying to ban internal flight from Nigeria because of issue of fuel, and this issue has really been, it seems to be touching Cameroon. So even though our
Ukraine,
because of the war in Ukraine and Russia, even though our government is not always clear, sometimes I realize that whether it's Sosukam or something like that, they stop production saying that they have limited fuel, but the government was assuring them then that there is fuel. If that's true is the case, then we are happy that we still have a lot of fuel in Cameroon. But if it's not the case, but we know after all, we know our government for lies telling, because they are always very good on that. Sometimes somebody is dying like that, or things the fuel is not even available. Our government keep assuring us that no, all is well, all is well. But only at the end for us to realize that things might not be going the way we expected it to go.
So what is the way forward to solving this problem? Sonara got burnt a few years ago, and a lot of innovation works in the pipeline to bring back Sonara to its feet.
Yes, really. I think this issue of Sonara, since big industries as such, it takes a lot of time for rehabilitation to take place. At least the government needs to do everything possible to seek for other alternative means of solving this problem, because we know the role that fuel play in our society and our community. Because everything we do here, whether we eat or we consume or whatever we do, the most of it we use for either for transportation or for production and all the like. So the government needs to do everything possible to make sure that the fuel is continuously available, whether there's war in Ukraine or not. Because you know that Cameroon is a country where producing fuel, even though we have problems of Sonara, at least it's our government to think of possible way out of this issue.
And don't you think that there are some scrupulous individuals who are trying to create artificial scarcity? Because this morning the National Institute for Statistics is blaming the price hikes of basic commodities in the city of Douala, which was supposed to even be cheaper compared to Yaoundé, because the transportation from those imported products that come into the country through the Douala seaport. And the National Institute of Statistics we read this morning that the prices of basic commodities in Yaoundé, they are higher than those in the nation's economic capital.
This has always been a problem, because some of these businessmen, when they realize that,
and it's very difficult. The paper did stress that it's very difficult to track those people who are causing the trouble in the nation's economic capital. But in Yaoundé,
est-ce qu'il y a plus les contrôleurs là qu'on avait fait sortir à un moment, est-ce qu'ils n'existent plus au Cameroun?
No, we have controllers, but the issue is the problem of what we call choco. So sometimes when the controllers comes, you make sure that you pay them, the controllers very well, so they'll go now and lie, give false information or give false report with the situation. Sometimes most of these people,
they do this at the detriment of the country.
At the detriment of the country. That's why we keep saying that corruption and this embezzlement, all this stuff has been legalized here in Cameroon. So these people are taking opportunities on such things. When there's a problem like that, they are taking opportunity to go to the places or the businessmen tycoon. They know that they have a reserve, or they often do things as such, and they take bribes on the back door and all those type of things. And it's really very bad for putting the country in a very terrible, complicated situation.
Ça exprime ici peut-être le mal-être de la grille salariale de ces fonctionnaires là qui est tellement bas.
No, it's a very big problem. The issue of salary is a very big problem in Cameroon. That is what is encouraging most of this corruption. That's why I can say, because we have teachers, these professionals, most professionals can have very low salary. Even the administrators, and I was saying here, that we have DOs, we hear the salaries of these DOs, you'll be surprised. So these people are left without any option than to do otherwise. So at least the government, for some of this problem, government need to make sure that the salaries of these teachers or these professionals or professionals in Cameroon or civil servants are increased. While those of the private sector, they do everything possible to make sure that they have even higher salary, so as to permit them to do.
But if the economy is not healthy, how do you get salary increment?
We cannot say the economy is not healthy when you have individual ministers who are siphoning 50 billion, a lot of billions on daily basis, and sometimes they are taken to prison instead of recovering the money. The government allowed them. They have people happy. They are telling us that some people with more than 27, 30 land titles within Bunanjo, within the central of Yaoundé and all that. So all these type of big houses, they have a lot of money, but the government does can confiscate this thing and sell them to put back the money on the government coffers. So that they take people, they go and detain them for nothing, and they end up either dying there or they stay there, whether they will come out or not. But the money is nothing. The most important thing that we want is the money, that the government should recover this money and not even imprison these people. It will not make any sense imprisoning them. It's true that they might be in prison after collecting the money, but the most important thing is for the government to recover this money, this typhoon or embezzle money.
Mais ces personnes-là qui doivent collecter l'argent, est-ce que par après eux-mêmes ils ne vont pas voler cet argent? Parce que jusqu'ici on n'a jamais eu la trace d'aucun argent, même ceux qui ont été retrouvés, on ne sait pas ce qui, on n'a eu aucun compte.
But the Wuhan Connect announced that they recovered this amount, billions of francs CFA for the past 3 years, 4 years. but nobody has given account on
That's what I'm saying.
the money
They always tell us
to.
stories that they have recovered money. I don't know where the money has gone to. Where is the money that was recovered? No one will answer you. At least they're supposed to tell us. That's why I was saying here that our government is supposed to be accountable to Cameroonians. Tell us that this amount of money has been recovered, and this is how we are using this. What we are using the money for. The money has been kept in the public treasury, and we know that this money has been used to do other important things or social issues that we need in Cameroon. Because we have a lot of problems in Cameroon, but we keep saying that Cameroon we don't have money in Cameroon. Meanwhile, our civil servants, our ministers, our directors are very, very rich.
Okay, that's it for today's edition of the program. Thank you so much for coming, Hamadou Tantoh. Hopefully, we'll be with you again next week, God willing.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you to televiewers of My Media Prime Television for watching this other edition of The Brief, which was produced by Johnson Vola. We were Bomotonguina, Gwladys, and myself, Lasha Kingsley. Tomorrow is another day. Bye-bye. You don't come. No.
Are you in a relationship and you have issues with your partner because they are not romantic? How